saving the Wanderer and Neyrelle. Akarat instructs them to seek another spirit named Abulan, whose power may help free Neyrelle from the Soulstone's corruption. Returning to Kurast, the Wanderer meets with the Council of Nahantu alongside Iru and Maka. The Council reveals that Abulan resides within the Spirit Realm, a sacred dimension connected to Nahantu's spiritual traditions. Using ancient rituals and artifacts, Maka opens a gateway into the Spirit Realm. However, it quickly becomes clear that Mephisto's corruption has spread there as well. Hollows now infest even this sacred place. Eru grows increasingly angry and fearful. To him, Neyrelle brought disaster directly into Nahantu and endangered both Sanctuary and the Spirit Realm. Nevertheless, the group presses forward. When they finally reach Abulan, they discover the ancient spirit has already been corrupted beyond salvation. Twisted into a monstrous shell of his former self, Abulan attacks them. Forced to defend themselves, the Wanderer kills him. The loss devastates Iru. Abulan was not merely a powerful spirit, but a revered mentor and symbol of Nahantu's resilience. Iru personally removes Abulan's heart and gives it to the Wanderer. Though horrified by what must be done, he believes the heart's remaining power may still save Neyrelle. The group returns to Travancal carrying the heart. Along the way, Akarat finally reveals the deeper truth. Neyrelle is not simply the cause of Nahantu's suffering. The corruption in the land long predates her arrival and is inseparably tied to Mephisto's ancient influence. Neyrelle may instead be Sanctuary's best hope of stopping him. When they find Neyrelle again, she is close to collapse. The Wanderer convinces her to consume Abulan's heart, temporarily freeing her from Mephisto's immediate influence. Regaining clarity, Neyrelle reveals her plan. Deep within Nahantu lies the tomb of Akarat, containing the Vault of Light. There, she believes the Soul Stone can be strengthened, and her bond with Mephisto permanently severed. Although Iru deeply opposes disturbing Akarat's tomb, the Council of Nahantu ultimately agrees with Neyrelle's plan. Guided by ancient tablets discovered on the Tanglewood Plateau, the group searches for the hidden tomb. Before they can continue, Urivar's Burn Knights attack Maka's camp. Iru is captured, forcing the Wanderer, Neyrelle, and Maka to launch a rescue mission. Though they successfully free Eru, Neyrelle's condition continues deteriorating as Mephisto's influence grows stronger. Realizing Urivar can no longer be allowed to continue his crusade, the Wanderer confronts him directly. Urivar fights with absolute conviction, believing himself a holy executioner, chosen to purge Sanctuary of corruption. During his dying moments, he recites Rathma's prophecy and condemns the path the Wanderer now walks. When the Wanderer returns, tragedy strikes again. Neyrelle loses control of the Soul Stone's corruption, unleashing a violent surge of energy that mortally wounds Maka. With her dying breath, Maka begs Iru not to blame Neyrelle. Iru is shattered. By now, he has lost his mentor, his people's spiritual sanctuary, and one of his closest allies. Though he continues helping the Wanderer, grief and desperation steadily consume him. Eventually, the group reaches the hidden entrance to Akarat's tomb. Together, the Wanderer, Neyrelle, and Eru perform an ancient chant that parts the waters and reveals the sacred path forward. Inside the tomb, they navigate ancient traps and riddles before finally entering the Vault of Light. At the center lies the perfectly preserved body of Akarat himself, one of the holiest relics in all Sanctuary. Standing before Akarat's body, Neyrelle prepares to free herself from the Soul Stone's influence. Mephisto torments her with visions of her dead mother and promises of comfort if she refuses to let go. With encouragement from the Wanderer, Neyrelle places the Soul Stone upon Akarat's body. A surge of radiant light fills the chamber. For a brief moment, it appears the ritual succeeds. Neyrelle's bond with Mephisto is severed, and the corruption fades. Then Iru betrays everyone. Driven by fear for Nahantu's survival, Iru reveals he made a bargain with Mephisto. Believing the prime evil would eventually escape regardless, Iru agreed to deliver Akarat's body and the Soul Stone in exchange for Nahantu being spared from the coming apocalypse. He steals both the Soul Stone and Akarat's corpse before escaping through a dark rift. Mephisto immediately emerges in a far stronger wolf form. empowered by the betrayal and Akarat's body. He mocks the Wanderer for the hatred within their soul, claiming that hatred itself is his greatest weapon. The battle against Mephisto is brutal, and the Wanderer is hopelessly outmatched until Akarat's spirit sacrifices itself to help drive Mephisto back. In doing so, the last remaining fragment of Akarat vanishes forever. Afterward, the Wanderer and Nerel track down the weakened Eru. Broken by grief and regret, he explains his reasoning. He believed the eternal conflict could never truly end, and that Nahantu would inevitably be destroyed unless he made a deal with Mephisto. Nerel refuses to kill him, understanding how deeply Mephisto can corrupt the mind. Back at the Horadric Vault, the Wanderer discovers Lorath's writings concerning Rathma's prophecy and the mysterious disappearance of Tyrael. The notes hint that even greater events are approaching. Nawal eventually arrives with a message from Prava. With Urivar dead and the Cathedral of Light fractured, Prava now seeks cooperation rather than vengeance. She acknowledges that Mephisto remains the greatest threat facing Sanctuary. Deep beneath Travancore, Akarat's corpse lies consumed by corruption. Embedded within his chest is Mephisto's soul stone. For the first time in generations, Mephisto possesses a human vessel. After the events in Nahantu, Sanctuary enters its darkest age yet. Mephisto is no longer merely trapped within a soul stone. Through Eru's betrayal, the Lord of Hatred now possesses the body of Akarat himself, the greatest prophet in the history of Sanctuary. The corruption spreading across the world is no longer hidden in shadows or ancient ruins. Hatred walks openly among humanity, wearing the face of a savior. The Wanderer and Lorath Nar begin their search for Nerel, hoping she may still know how to stop Mephisto before he fully regains his power. Their journey leads them to the Yashari Sanctum, an ancient repository of forbidden knowledge. But when they arrive, they find only destruction. The sanctum has been burned to ashes. Books, scrolls, and centuries of knowledge are gone. Bodies lie scattered through the ruins, and at the center of it all lies Nerel, dead beside her shattered notes. Lorath is devastated. Nerel had carried the burden of Mephisto longer than anyone should have endured, and now her journey has ended in tragedy. Yet among the ruins, fragments of her research survive. Through her writings, the Wanderer learns the terrifying truth. Mephisto is traveling to the Scovos Isles, the birthplace of the first human civilization, the homeland once shared by Lilith and Inarius, and according to Nerel's discoveries, the place where Sanctuary itself may have first been shaped. But Mephisto is not marching there as a conqueror. He is going there as a prophet. Across Sanctuary, stories begin to spread about Akarat reborn. Villagers speak of miracles, sick children healed by a touch, crops growing in dead soil, entire communities freed from fear and violence after the arrival of a mysterious holy man cloaked in light. The truth is far worse. Mephisto, wearing Akarat's body, has begun manipulating humanity through faith itself. Instead of ruling through terror, he offers salvation. He promises freedom from suffering, freedom from grief, freedom from hatred, all while secretly feeding upon those same emotions. Desperate people flock to him. Entire settlements begin worshipping him as the second coming of Akarat. The corruption spreads not through demons alone, but through devotion. Lorath attempts to warn the rulers of the Scovos Isles before Mephisto arrives. There he meets Queen Adriona, leader of the Amazons, hoping to unite Scovos against the coming disaster. But Mephisto's influence has already reached deeper than anyone realizes. During a public gathering, Lorath suddenly loses control of his own mind. Hatred overwhelms him. Lorath falls prey to a mind snare laid by Mephisto. Within the vision that engulfs him, he slays the false prophet. But when the veil of deception lifts from the old man's eyes, he realizes the truth. It was not Mephisto wearing the prophet's face whose throat he cut, but the queen of the Amazons, murdered before the horrified crowd of onlookers. Yet this was merely the opening move. Mephisto, befitting the greatest prophet in the history of Sanctuary, restores the queen to life and bids her show mercy to Lorath. The Horadrim appears mad and violent. It is exactly what Mephisto wanted. Desperate for answers, the Wanderer turns to the sightless eye. using its power to descend into the depths of their own soul. There, hidden within their blood and memories, they discover a horrifying truth. Lilith still exists. Though her body was destroyed beneath hell, remnants of her essence remain bound to the Wanderer. She survives like an echo buried deep within the Wanderer's mind. Lilith reveals that the Wanderer's connection to her also binds them to Mephisto himself. Through that bond, Mephisto can influence the Wanderer, but it also allows the Wanderer to see fragments of Mephisto's memories. Within those visions, the Wanderer witnesses Inarius after his death. The fallen angel is imprisoned within Mephisto's realm, endlessly tortured for his failures. During his torment, Inarius unknowingly reveals one final secret to Mephisto: the existence of the pools of creation, the ancient birthplace of humanity itself. Long ago, Lilith and Inarius used these sacred pools to create Sanctuary's first humans. Now Mephisto seeks to corrupt them. If he succeeds, hatred itself will become part of humanity's very nature forever. Lilith then reveals another secret. Rathma's prophecy spoke of a spear of light piercing hatred's heart. The prophecy refers to a weapon Lilith herself once created from one of her own bones, a blade capable of destroying Mephisto permanently. The weapon could cast Mephisto into the void, the endless prison outside creation itself, but the blade no longer exists. Long ago, Rathma shattered it after rejecting Lilith's war against heaven and hell. Now its fragments are scattered across Sanctuary, and the Wanderer must find them before Mephisto reaches the pools of creation. The Wanderer travels across Scovos, hunting the fragments of Lilith's blade while fighting against Mephisto's expanding influence. Yet the greatest danger is not outside, it is within. The Wanderer begins hearing Mephisto's voice constantly. As Sanctuary falls deeper into chaos, Lorath finally finds someone long believed lost: Tyrael. The former Archangel of Justice returns after years in hiding. No longer immortal, Tyrael has spent years searching ancient Horadric vaults for knowledge that might stop the prime evils forever. He reveals that the high heavens remain fractured and weakened after centuries of war. The Anguirus Council refuses to intervene directly in Sanctuary's affairs, leaving humanity to fight alone once more. But Tyrael understands what Mephisto has become. This is no longer merely another demonic invasion. Mephisto seeks to become something greater than a prime evil. Using Akarat's body, humanity's faith, and the corruption of the pools of creation, he intends to reshape humanity itself into an eternal civilization of hatred. One by one, the fragments of Lilith's blade are recovered. Tyrael leads the Wanderer to an ancient Horadric vault, hidden within Mount Hephaestus, where the Horadric cube still survives. Using its power, the shattered fragments are reforged into Lilith's blade once more. But before the final battle begins, Lilith makes her final choice. She pulls the Wanderer back into the memory realm, where Mephisto nearly overwhelms their soul entirely. Knowing the Wanderer cannot survive while still bound to her blood, Lilith sacrifices herself completely to sever the connection. Lilith truly disappears, not as a queen, not as a monster, but as a mother trying, in her own terrible way, to save humanity from both heaven and hell. When the Wanderer returns, Lorath is gone. Searching for allies among the Amazons, he was confronted by Queen Adriona, who had already fallen under Mephisto's corruption. She kills Lorath, and his head is claimed by the Tree of Whispers. The last Horadrim dies beneath a darkened sky. An eclipse falls over Scovos. Across the islands, Mephisto's corruption erupts completely. Entire Amazon armies turn against one another. Demons pour into Sanctuary as hatred consumes everything it touches. Tyrael opens the path to the pools of creation. Deep beneath Scovos, surrounded by ancient waters and impossible light, lies the birthplace of humanity. There Mephisto finally abandons his disguise. The body of Akarat tears apart as the prime evil reveals his true form. Hatred itself radiates from him like fire. The sacred prophet who once spread the light has become the ultimate vessel of corruption. The final battle begins. Mephisto attempts to poison the pools, intending to corrupt all future generations of humanity forever. The Wanderer fights alongside Tyrael against the full power of the Lord of Hatred, while the world itself begins collapsing around them. At last, the Wanderer drives Lilith's blade into Mephisto's